Most people think disciplined people are stronger, but that's not really true. They simply stopped negotiating with their emotions. And strangely, some of the most disciplined people you'll ever meet rarely post selfies, rarely show their personal lives online, and almost never ask for attention. Not because they're insecure, but because they understand something about human psychology that most people completely miss. Something addictive, something dangerous. And once you notice it, you start seeing social media very differently. There's a quiet type of person in today's world. They wake up early, handle responsibilities quietly, disappear for hours, and work on themselves in private. Somehow they don't need the internet to remind them who they are. Meanwhile, millions of people post constantly. Their breakfast, their workouts, their relationships, their vacations, even their faces every single day. And it raises an uncomfortable question. Why do some people desperately need to be seen, while others protect their privacy like it's something valuable? This is where social psychology becomes fascinating, because your online behavior often reveals more about your emotional state than your words ever will. Disciplined people understand this deeply. Human beings are naturally wired for social approval. Thousands of years ago, being accepted by the tribe meant survival. Rejection meant danger. That ancient psychological system still exists inside us, but now the tribe has changed. Today, the tribe is Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and every other platform competing for your attention. Every notification becomes a tiny emotional reward, a dopamine hit, a small digital reminder that somebody noticed you. Cyber psychology calls this intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism used in slot machines. You post something, then wait. Maybe people react, maybe they don't, and slowly the brain becomes addicted to uncertainty. Most people never realize it's happening, but disciplined people do. That's why many of them avoid oversharing online, not because they hate social media, but because they understand how easily attention can start controlling behavior. And once a person becomes emotionally dependent on validation, their identity slowly stops belonging to them. Think about that for a second. How many people look happy online, but emotionally exhausted in real life? Probably more than you realize. Now here's where it gets deeper. Quiet people are often mistaken for insecure people, but psychology suggests the opposite can also be true. Many highly disciplined individuals are internally validated, meaning their self-worth comes from internal standards instead of public reactions. They don't need applause to continue. Their motivation is private.
And privacy in today's world has become a form of power, especially in a culture addicted to exposure. Introverts experience this even more intensely. Research in social psychology shows that introverted individuals are more sensitive to external stimulation. Too much attention drains them. Too much social interaction overwhelms them. And social media is non-stop stimulation. Endless comparison, endless judgment, endless performance. So instead of constantly displaying themselves online, they observe more, they think more, they reflect more. And sometimes they overthink everything before posting. How will people see this? Does this look fake? Will this be misunderstood? Why am I even posting this? Most people scroll without thinking. Disciplined people often think before sharing anything. Ironically, that restraint gets mistaken for insecurity, when sometimes it's actually self-awareness. Here's a strange truth nobody talks about. The people posting the most confidence online are not always the most confident people in real life. In fact, psychologists have repeatedly observed that excessive self-presentation can sometimes hide emotional insecurity. Not always, but often. Because real confidence usually doesn't scream for attention. It's quieter than people expect. That's why some disciplined people don't feel the need to document every achievement. They're too busy building a life instead of performing one. Now let's talk about validation, because this is where modern psychology becomes almost tragic. Every social platform is built around attention psychology. Likes, views, comments, shares, all of it trains the brain to associate visibility with worth. Over time, people unconsciously start asking themselves a dangerous question. If nobody sees my life, did it even matter? And that question changes behavior completely. People stop enjoying moments naturally. They begin experiencing life through imaginary audiences. You can literally watch it happening everywhere. Friends spending more time taking photos of dinner than actually enjoying it. People recording concerts instead of listening to the music. Couples filming happy moments they barely feel emotionally connected to. Disciplined people notice this pattern quickly. Some of them become digitally exhausted, not physically tired, mentally tired. Tired of performing, tired of comparison, tired of turning every human experience into content. So they slowly disappear more. Not because they have nothing to show, but because peace becomes more valuable than visibility. And honestly, that makes some people uncomfortable, because someone who doesn't crave attention becomes difficult to control. Think about this carefully. The internet made people more visible, but not necessarily more understood. That's why some of the loneliest people today have the biggest online presence, while some of the most emotionally stable people barely post anything at all. Strange, isn't it? But there's another side to this story. Not everyone who avoids posting photos is disciplined. Sometimes it comes from fear. Fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear of not looking attractive enough, fear of being analyzed by strangers online. Social anxiety plays a massive role here, especially in a culture obsessed with appearance. One photo online can trigger hundreds of imagined opinions inside the mind. What if people think I look weird? What if nobody likes it? What if people ignore me completely? So some people stay invisible to protect themselves emotionally. And honestly, that's one of the saddest parts of modern social media. It turned self-expression into social evaluation. But emotionally intelligent people eventually learn something important. You cannot build authentic confidence entirely through external approval, because validation is temporary. One day people praise you, the next day they forget you exist. So disciplined people start focusing inward instead. Their habits, their goals, their mental peace, their real relationships, their private growth. They stop asking, how do I look to others? And start asking, who am I when nobody's watching? That question changes everything. Here's the paradox. The less a person needs attention, the more psychologically powerful they often become, because their emotions are no longer controlled by reactions, likes, comments, or audiences. Just self-respect. And in today's world, that's rare. Real discipline is not just waking up early, going to the gym, or working hard. Real discipline is emotional. It's resisting the urge to constantly seek validation, resisting comparison, resisting digital addiction, resisting the pressure to perform your entire life for strangers online. The people who protect their privacy often understand the value of their energy. The people who move quietly are sometimes fighting battles nobody else sees. And the people who don't constantly prove themselves online may already know exactly who they are offline. Maybe that's why silence feels powerful around certain people, because in a world constantly screaming for attention, their restraint feels unusual, almost dangerous. And maybe the strongest minds today are simply the ones learning how to stay human inside a system designed to monetize insecurity. So now, I want to ask you something honestly. Do you think avoiding social media attention is a sign of discipline or emotional fear? Comment your thoughts below. And if this video made you see human behavior differently, share it with someone who needs to hear it.
Subscribe for more psychology documentaries about human behavior, emotional intelligence, and the hidden patterns shaping modern life. Because the more you understand people, the more you understand yourself.